Hi everyone, I am making a video because unfortunately I need to cancel class tomorrow for January 24th. And so I thought it would be best if I could create a short overview of what the expectations are for this week. Now, that being said, I will be here this week on Thursday morning. If you have any questions, please come during our regular class time that we normally would have on Tuesday. You may come on Thursday and I will be there to answer any questions. It will be an open lab. Okay, I'm not going to be doing any lecturing or anything like that, so it'll be an open lab. Now, what I would like to go through with you in this video is to review what we are working on this week. So last week, we got acquainted with Hack the Box. You were introduced to the Academy, and then you had another lab that talked about learning processes. And the real deal with that particular lab is for people and users and students alike to recognize that we need to really think critically, we need to think outside the box, and that there aren't any cookie cutter answers, especially when it comes to technology related work. And so, especially in the realm of cybersecurity. So it really tried to emphasize why that's important, and understanding that need to really think critically and to really, as they say, think outside the box. So hopefully, I know that was a very, very long lab, and so it would have been, probably helpful if you were a little confused about some of the concepts, maybe to do some outside exploring, maybe see some YouTube videos. It was a very long lab. I will definitely agree with you on that. That being said, there was a lot of valuable information in there to help you understand, and hopefully it would help you in terms of recognizing how you learn and how maybe you could change your thinking to better suit you for this type of profession. All right, so this week you're going to be working on Chapter 1, Operating Systems Fundamentals. We're also going to be beginning our first lab in Hack the Box, which is our Windows Fundamentals. Now, I want to take a peek at the module, and I want to show you how I break this down. So, this week we're going to be working on, as I mentioned, Operating Systems Fundamentals. I'll take a look. There's going to be additional videos in there that I think it will be helpful for you. We have additional resources. This is a link. I just throw it out there. If you need some reinforcements, by all means, go ahead and look at that. This is going to be your activity that you're going to complete for tomorrow. Well, for this week, and it's a worksheet. All right, so I am looking for quality and I'm looking for completion. All right, so it will be on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's going to help you in learning this concept, the concepts in Chapter 1. So here's a worksheet, and I want you to download it. And if you want to actually write it in there, go ahead. But then you're also going to have to upload it. So you might want to just type that information in here. So in Chapter 1, we learn about the different categories of operating systems, those being single task versus multitask, single user versus multi-user, general purpose versus real-time. And so I want you to make a clear distinction between those two to help yourself. Next, we learn about operating system roles. All right, so again, I want you to give yourself a short definition of what they are. We also learn about some of the components for operating systems. And one of the things that we learn about is the boot procedure. Now, there are 6 steps, right? In order to type inside of that step, you're going to have to double click on that box and it will allow you to type on that. All right, so, and then you can fill that in. Next, we talk about the role of the BIOS, all right? And so I want you to just simply type in what that role of the BIOS is, right below there. Question number 2 in terms of the primary operating system component is process and service management. And in our lab this week, we're going to learn about process and services. So we learn what a process is, and so I want you to, again, give yourself some short definitions, keywords that are going to help you to remember what these are. We learn about 4 processes that are usually created. All right, go ahead, list those. And here's a number of terms that are related to memory and input-output management. So I have those listed. We move on to security and resource protection in terms of authentication and authorization. Again, put a distinction, some keywords in here that will help you with that. We move on to talking about the kernel. So about the kernel, what is it? What are some of the jobs that are performed? And then I want you to tell me the name of the kernel file for if we're in the Windows OS, what is the name of the kernel file? If you're in Linux, what is the name of the kernel file in Mac OS? We have, then we move in and we learn about the history of operating systems. Now, you don't need to give each one of these, because there's a lot. Look at this. There's a huge list. I would just put some keywords in here. If you don't feel like anything is really all that relevant, then you can certainly leave it blank. But you might find that there are, some items are going to be will have more information than others. So this is something that will be really helpful for you. I also, if you keep going further down to the final page, here's a timeline that you can see for the desktop Windows. This is just for Windows, right? So you can see some of the accomplishments and of when Windows first began to where we are today. All right, so I thought that would be just helpful to have that little image in there, and this is going to be a worksheet that will that you can complete as you're reading the chapter, as you're reading the text. Now, how am I going to access the chapter? Well, you should have bought the text. All right, so you'll have access to that. If we go to, let's go back to the module here, and I'm going to go to look at this real quick. So let's look at the activities, right? So I ask you to read chapter 1 in our text, and then you're also going to see that I have some additional videos. So these are really helpful. Like if reading gets a little mundane for you, that's why we have these videos, because I get tired reading, and so the videos reinforce a lot of what we're going to read. All right, so we have a couple. This is on the history of computing and operating systems. We have one on the introduction of operating systems. Here is, about the purpose. Here we have one on just simply explaining what operating systems are. So among these, we're going to see a lot of overlap. But again, it's one of those things that when we hear it over and over again, it starts to stick. So it's good to do that. All right, so this is some of our learning material. This is also powerful stuff. Here is the textbook PowerPoint. All right, the textbook PowerPoint is very, very wordy. All right, there's lots of text. There's not a whole lot of images. There are no videos, but it certainly will help you in terms of working and completing that worksheet that I gave you. All right, so notice there are 51 slides, so you can certainly go through and we can look at and answer some of those. If you can't find that, certainly please go back to your text. Remember, one of our first questions, there's 3 broad categories: single versus multi-user, general versus real time, right? Here we're going to see some of that information that will help us, help you complete this class activity for this worksheet. When you've completed that worksheet, please download it and then submit it. And again, I'm looking for completeness, I'm looking for quality, all right? It will be due on Sunday at midnight. Please, please, please do not wait to complete this. I want you to get started tomorrow, or whenever I make this available to you, which may be later on today, all right? All right, let's go back to the module overview. So there's that class activity. And then you will, once you've read the chapter and you've done all that, you'll be ready to take the quiz. The quiz is based off of the textbook, all right? And again, that's not until January 29th, but I don't want you to wait until the last minute to complete that. You have 2 attempts, all right? So make sure that if you need to, you're able to utilize those. The next thing we want to get started on is this Hack the Box lab. Now, I want you to take a look at this week, which is lesson 1, next week, which is lesson 2. So I break down the labs so that you have 2 full weeks to complete this. This lab, if you don't run into any problems, is going to should take you 6 hours to complete. That sounds like a lot because it is a lot. And you will not be able to do this in one sitting. I'm going to repeat that. You cannot do this in one sitting. Break it down. We're going to look at this assignment. Now, before we take a look at this tab over here, I want you to see that next week, right? So this week, your focus is to complete the lab. Next week, you're going to work on the report, right? And then next week, you're going to take the quiz. I haven't created that quiz yet, all right? I haven't gotten through the actual lab itself. I'm halfway through it. And I'm telling you, it's going to take you, or may take you, longer than 6 hours. So this is why I'm urging you to budget your time. Do a little bit every single day. Now, right? So how do you get to the lab? You're going to go to click this lab link. That's going to launch you and bring you directly to that. It should bring you directly to that. If it doesn't, then just go to Hack the Box and sign in, with your login credentials. Now, as I said, this is going to bring us to a new tab. I'm going to let that load, and then you're going to submit to this particular link your completion that you completed the actual module. Very similar. This is not something that should be unfamiliar to you because we did this already with the Intro to the Academy and the learning processes. So you're going to be doing the same thing for the Windows fundamentals. All right. Turn it in by the due date. All right. So I'm looking for that shareable link that's going to show your ID, the lab name, and the date that it was completed. So as soon as you get this done, then just turn it in. You have to pass and answer all the questions correctly in order for you to complete the lab. Again, let me repeat that. You have to answer all the questions correctly in order for you to complete the lab. Now I'm going to go and open up the Windows fundamentals, right? Here we see our module summary, right? You can see I'm halfway through. I'm halfway through this, right? We can take a look at all of the items that we're going to be completing over here. Wherever we see a cube, that tells you that you will have to answer a question. Wherever you see a cube, you're going to be answering a question. If you run into problems, right, I want you to just take a break, all right? I'm going to go here and I'm going to click continue so you can see the path where I'm currently at. So I've already completed the introduction to Windows. There is the core of the operating system. There are 3 pieces to that. The working with services and processes, we learn about that in chapter 1. All right. And you're going to, so that some of that will be familiar to you, right? So we have that information here as well. Remember, you have to mark it as complete and then to move on to the next piece. All right, so as you can see, I still have 3 more pieces to go. I am breaking this down, and I am going to do a little bit each day because this probably will take me, I probably have another 3 hours to go. This should take me 1 hour to go, right? I want to point out to you, all right, I'm going to click ahead on here, on the one there's a cube, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And I want you to know, right, that here are 2 questions, right? The cheat sheet, all right, is going to be helpful when at any time. Look for this. You might see the commands that they're asking for. They give you the syntax for those commands, so look to that. You will have to create a new instance, all right, every time you do this, right? So here, if I want to start an instance, I'm going to have to do that. If they want that VPN or that IP address, I'm going to have to enter that in there. So you may need to restart. All right, so if you're having issues, right, I want you to start working on this week. All right, I want you to, if you have any questions, I want you to be able to, if you need to, come to class because we will not be meeting tomorrow on Tuesday. I will be open to meeting with you on Thursday, all right? So you may come in on Thursday and I can answer some questions as you go through and complete the lab. All right, so you want to make sure you start that instance, right? So you can see here it's just waiting for me to start. And let me scroll on up over here. We're getting a lot of information. Sometimes the answers are in the actual page itself. Sometimes they're going to ask us a question and we are going to need to type in that information. All right, so you need to be in a really good place, mentally, be in a quiet space, wherever it is for you to concentrate and do what you need to do to complete the labs. Okay, so, right, so this says Windows sessions. Here, I'm just kind of going back here. They're talking about this, right? And then I can actually mark that as complete and continue. All right, I can move forward, right? But if I don't mark it as complete, it's not going to think that it's done. I'm not going to get the green check mark if I don't answer the question correctly. All right. Oh, what I wanted to point out to you. Let me scroll all the way down to the bottom for when I see that cube. There are hints. They give you hints. So if you need to use the hint, by all means, use the hint. That's what they are there for. I don't see the hint on here, so maybe it needs to get started in order, or maybe I need to answer it incorrectly and then a hint will come in. I'm not sure exactly how that comes into play, but they do give you hints. So look for that as well. All right, if you have any questions, please message me through the Canvas inbox. If you are having problems, I really recommend that instead of trying to explain it, send me a screenshot about whatever it is that you're having issues with, because a picture does tell 1,000 words, and it's much, much easier for me to try and help you if I can see exactly what it is that you're having problems with. If it's something that you're able to take a little video of and upload the video and share the video, that too is also very, very beneficial. But this is something that I do not want you to wait. I want you to complete what I would start with is doing the textbook first. Do the textbook first, and then I want you to start the lab. all right? So ideally, getting through this first lab is going to be challenging. This lab is going to be challenging. Why? Because this is something brand spanking new, all right? You are unfamiliar with this information and you're unfamiliar, right? So I kind of, I'm thinking ahead. So I need you to give yourself plenty of time. Again, while it says 6 hours, it might take you more. So break down the module into smaller pieces, right? If I go back to my Hacking Box, I'm going to scroll up. If you want to do this one day, like that could be one day, that could be Tuesday, that could be Wednesday, that could be Thursday, this could be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? You break it down into smaller, manageable pieces. If I can't emphasize that enough, that is what is going to make this lab work, all right? I've given you plenty of time to do this, and there is a lot of reading, and I want you to make sure that you've given yourself adequate time and you prepare and give yourself some notes that if you need to go back, you can go back and look. Okay. That's all I have for now. I apologize. This is a very, very long video, but I need you to listen and go through all this. As I was talking, I thought to myself, I am going to remove this because I'm probably going to post this in the announcement. You know what? I'm actually just going to go ahead and publish it right now, and so that way you'll see it in here. I'm just going to go ahead and do that, so you can see that that has been published, and so you might even notice it before you even look at the video, but it's there. Okay. Again, questions, Canvas inbox, and if need be, you can come on Thursday. I will be there Thursday at 9:05. All right, because I have a 10:35 class. I may be a few minutes late, but I will be there. All right. Thank you very much. And again, I apologize for having to cancel tomorrow, but something has come up. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.